This is Tripathi, and you are watching The Universe. So today we are going to do another podcast with an author who is an army veteran and a published author. Recently written a book called Fate. He have overcome from all his past traumas and became a trainer as well. So let's deep dive into the life of Mr. Miguel De La Rocha and learn from their experiences that how his journey gone from these traumas and experience these traumatic experiences in his life and learn from their experiences and try to help those people who also have these kind of traumas. Let's welcome Mr. Miguel De La Rocha.
Hello, Miguel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Anuj. It's great to be here with you. And I am Miguel De La Rocha, the one, the only, and I am a multi-international award-winning author for my autobiography, Fate, which is an acronym for Future After Traumatic Events. And as I mentioned, it's my autobiography about all the death and traumatic experiences I've been through in life, how many times I've died, been back, as well as just dozens and dozens of different various traumas.
Okay, that's great. What is exactly this your book called Fate After Traumatic Events is about? It's like more on trauma or something we can help it on as a mental health book or as well.
Well, actually, it kind of does both. It both whatchamacallit, exposes and brings to light the different types of traumas that people can go through, as well as how I personally overcame all those traumatic events. So it's not just one kind of traumatic event, like, extremely violent childhood, or not just about how I was born dead and they had to bring me back to life, or all the experiences that I had in the military and being in war at 19 years old in the first Iraq war. It's like so many different types of traumas that I've experienced, but I don't leave the reader there. For me, it's about exposing and it's about sharing everything I've been with so that other people that have been suffering and are suffering through those traumatic experiences know that they can have a future after those traumatic experiences. And that's where I came up with the title for. So it's more or less like my personal story,
Got it.
everything I've been through. It's raw. It's basic English. So, if you have a basic knowledge of English, you'll be able to understand, as well as it's a simple read. It's conversational style. And I want to do that to be able to reach the most broad kind of audience to help as many people as I can.
Definitely. I personally like more of a conversational books so that I can connect with the author directly and I can understand what he was trying to say. So you
Yeah.
have mentioned a couple of times that you back to the life at the birth as well. As we are doing the research and I have seen in your website as well. So can you just explain about that something? I'm curious to know.
So, yeah, I was born 3 weeks late, but I was pretty much dead when I was born. So I wasn't breathing. I wasn't responding. The cord was wrapped around my neck 3 times. My head was completely blue. And I don't know how long it took, but obviously they were able to bring me back. And mind you, this was back in 1971. So they didn't really do any inducement of labor, for being a day late, let alone 2 or 3 weeks late. So it wasn't common practice at that time, even here in America. So that's why I went through that. And from the very first moment of life, yeah, I was dead. I wasn't breathing. I was choked out, and I was brought back. And that's not the only time that I've experienced death either. So another time was when I was surfing in San Diego. There's a couple hurricanes off the coast, and we were having like the waves were about 15, 20-foot swells and just beautiful forms and everything. But the power of the waves, they were coming in sets of three, and there was only like about 1 or 2 seconds in between each set. And it was just pounding down, and one wave ended up smashing my board in half and pretty much destroying my leash so that I was no longer even attached to my board, and it sucked me under. And I don't even know how long I was under, but I got to the point where it's like I didn't even need to breathe underwater. It was just like this really bright light was starting to really grow. And there's just a really warm, calm, soothing feeling coming over my body. And I just felt like I was floating in space. It was super quiet. You couldn't even hear the waves from the storm that was over there. And all of a sudden it was just like, oh crap, I know what this is. I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. So I like snapped out of it and then immediately went to the surface and was able to climb out over the jetty and get to safety. So yeah, so that was another moment that pretty much just, battling death again.
Got it. That's something I can say a more adventurous life in a normal person. But you have seen this from the start of your life, and you have also battled cancer at as teenager. I have read on your website as well. So how that goes?
Yeah, so I had cancer 3 times in my life. It was intestinal cancer. The first time I was about 15 years old,
Okay.
and they had to yank a bunch of stuff out and everything of my intestine. And 2 more times I had a relapse. 2 more times it came back after exposure to chemical and biological weapons in the Iraq War.
Okay. I think we are not going to discuss that much about that. If you are if you want to, we can. If you are
Yeah, I mean, I
interested.
have no problem. It's it's just one of those things that where as a soldier, when you pretty much enlist and you take that oath of office in the U.S., you're no longer a civilian, you're no longer a person. You actually become government property. And to emphasize this in reality, we had a guy that was in our unit that fell asleep in the sun on the beach, and he got like severely sunburned, and I think he got like second-degree
in the
burns.
in the Iraq.
And, no, no, no. This was in AIT before going to
Okay.
Iraq,
Okay. Okay.
but he got severely sunburned on a weekend, getaway type of thing, and he was charged with basically a minor crime of defacing or destruction of government property because of the sunburn. So technically, which is really hilarious if you think about it, because the number one thing in the military is all the military guys and gals, they get tats, right? They get tattoos.
Yeah.
That's just what you do. Whether it's a tattoo of your branch or a tattoo of your unit, whatever.
Hmm.
Majority of soldiers are going to get tats, and
Okay.
technically that's defacing government property because our bodies belong to the government. And under that guise and under that ruling, I guess, that the pharmaceutical companies made ties with the military to experiment on us when they could not were not able to legally get permission to experiment and do their process on regular humans.
Okay. That's something new I got to know, and learning every day. Okay. So exactly what inspired you to write this book? From your experiences in the military, or something you want to do from a long time?
Well, actually, I've always been a writer. I started in school. For me, because of the extreme violent childhood, it was my escape. Because as a writer and as an author, you basically become God, right? You
Yeah.
create your own universe, you create your own story, you got your own worlds and everything else, and you get to play with it however you feel like you want to. And so I learned that at a very young age, and I was able to use that as an escape uh, for all the traumas that I was experiencing, and that really helped me get through a lot of things that I was experiencing. So I've always been a writer, always been doing that, and it wasn't until my darkest day, which I open up my autobiography with, where I almost became one of the 24 veterans a day that commit suicide.
Okay.
And it was the 4th of July in 2014 that it happened. And having survived and making it through that horrific night. And let me explain what was going on that night
Sure,
too. And
sure.
because it was the 4th of July, I was there in San Diego, and where I was staying at, there was 3 or 4 different fireworks shows going on at the same time. So literally, I got embedded and surrounded and drowned out by all the smoke, the trembles, the earth shakes from the impact from
Okay.
the cannons of the fireworks going off. So everything was trembling. There was smoke. You couldn't even see if you had hold your arm stretched out in front of you. You wouldn't be able to see it. And it really impacted me so much. It was like I was doing a time warp back in combat and back in the war. And I even saw like a little whatchamacallit type of portal that opened up in front of me where literally I could walk through it and I would be back in combat. So that freaked me out, obviously, and I just turned around, walked away, and I was able to get some fresh air. But thinking back on that, I was at my wit's end. I was tired of all the disabilities. I was tired of all the pain, tired of all the injuries that I was having to deal with, tired of battling the VA because it took the VA like 20 years to get my benefits that I was entitled to. Because at first they denied that I was even in the military,
Mm-hmm.
that I had to appeal that. Then they denied that I ever served overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Then they denied that uh, basically, okay, I served overseas, but it was not in a combat zone. Then, and every time it was just like a new denial, a new denial. And it took years and years to keep having to refile and battle it all over again until I finally learned the secret. And so that's why it took 20 years to finally be able to get my disability pension and everything. And I was tired of it. At that time, I had just finished being homeless after losing everything. I was in a law enforcement career and had a knee injury that was crippling in the line of duty,
Mm-hmm.
and ended up losing everything because in the state of Florida at that time, you were either 0% disabled or 100% disabled. You were not both. So you didn't have the increments like you were 20%, 50%, 60%. It was either 0 or 100. And because I wasn't 100, I lost everything. I was out of my dream career, no more income because I wasn't able to work, and just a whole bunch of other stuff that all happened at the same time. So I literally was going around living out of my old beat up 4x4 SUV, traveling from place to place, from shelter to shelter, and finally made it back to San Diego because there was a veteran community there and service that was brand new, that was attempting to help the veterans homeless get them on their feet. And I was the first one in their program to actually go through that. So I'm very thankful for them for that, and it really did help.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. You can continue.
Yeah. And what really stopped it for me was that it was a change of my mindset where I started looking at, even though I was ready to end it all because of all the crap that was going on, and for years, the suffering and the BS from the VA and everything else that was going on. It was finally, I got to the point where, I was thinking about how I was going to do it. And luckily, I was going to jump in front of the train that was speeding, but there was a huge, 8, 9 foot chain link fence in front of it with, razor wire on top. So I was like, oh, with my bad knee, that's not going to work. And then I was thinking about, okay, well, there's a bridge right there in front of MCRD, and I could jump off of that. But then I looked down, it's like only about 15, 20 feet. So all I would do is break my other leg. And then, then the cops would show up and carry me away to the loony bin. And so, I didn't want that because, I didn't want to have to deal with the law enforcement and be cuffed and go through that process. So then I was going to jump in front of the highway that was next door. And as I walked to the sidewalk on the edge of the road, I started thinking about the impact that it would have on the vehicle and the driver itself. And then I was thinking about how, as much as I was suffering, I wanted to end it all. What would be that lasting impact on that family? Like, you imagine a mother, with small children in the vehicle, and they're cruising by, 60, 70 miles an hour, and I jump in front of them, and all of a sudden, the last thing that the children and the mom see is my face being splattered on their windshield, and what kind of hellish, traumatic impact would that make in their lives, possibly scar them for life, and probably. And I could not do that. It's, they were innocent, they weren't doing anything, and there's no way I wanted to put them through that. So I just went back to my apartment and curled up on the bed, and next thing I know, rocked myself to sleep. And I don't even remember falling asleep. I just remember waking up the next day, and it was a beautiful, perfect summer San Diego day. And I knew from that moment on that I had a plan and I had a destiny to help others overcome their traumas, and to try and reduce the percentage of suicide by veterans and first responders.
I'm really feeling sorry to hear all these stories. I'm really thinking that how you came out of all this and thought about to write a book from these all the traumatic incidences which you have gone through. It's not easy to cope up with all of this and start something new. So, and describe the challenging moments while you are writing this book and revisiting all those traumatic events you are going through. Is it that easy to write a book from past experiences and post it out in front of the world?
Well, it just depends. To be honest, and to really warn people that think they want to write their life story, write about their traumatic experiences, I'm going to let them know that really you need to go in with the mindset and with the expectation that when you are writing, that you're going to have to relive that over and over and over again. So for me, it took 9 years to write my autobiography from everything that I've been through. And there were times where, because of having to live through the traumatic experience, there were times where I was only able to write maybe a couple words, and then the effects and the triggers were so intense that I had to walk away and leave it alone. And it was like a couple months before I was able to go back and start writing again. And that's kind of what the motto of my autobiography is, which I took from Army infantry, is semper anticus, always forward. So no matter what you're going through in life, as long as you're taking some kind of step to move forward, everything's going to be okay, and you're going to get through it. It's only when we stay where we're at and we continue to let ourselves be pounded by life and pounded by the circumstances, pounded by the traumas, and we sit there in that mire, in that depression, and just let the world beat us down. That's when things get really bad and really desperate, and that's when we start to looking to other means to end things. And so that's what I'm saying, is that even if you take only an inch and you do something positive for the day, at least you have something positive to build upon, that you can look back on and say, hey, no matter what kind of crap I'm going through right now, at least this positive thing happened in my life today. And then make it through that day into the next day, and then remember that tomorrow is always a brand new day, and it's wide open to accomplish something and to change and to heal yourself and to continue to walk forward to reach your destiny.
Okay. I mean, military impacted your writing skills, or whatever you are saying that you are writing from the start. So, is it impacted your writing and your experiences as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, going through everything I've been through has definitely impacted my experience, and has given me so much to write about. And but it's the voice inside that really continue to grow and to develop. And because I really wanted to reach as many people as possible that are struggling and really having a difficult time with life, that I really wanted to make sure that they were able to understand and that they're able to see and kind of experience what I went through with me as I'm guiding them through my autobiography and my life story, but I don't want to leave them there. So, because I mean, there's parts that are very dark, very traumatic, very gruesome and raw, but I still try to show them overcoming and resolving that and healing and coming out of it stronger than before. And that's why, with everything that I've been through, I don't look at it as like poor me, but I look at it as I'm glad that if somebody had to go through it, that it was me because I was able to make it through. And so I'm really glad and happy to be able to have gone through so much stuff so that I'm able to reach and connect with more people and with a broader audience to help them get through it.
I have also seen one thing in your website that you are having the Mindfield Masterclass. What is that about? It is about something related to this book or something new?
No, it's actually from my autobiography, Fate, where writing my autobiography, I wrote it to bring awareness and to touch people's lives and to give them hope and encouragement and inspiration, which it's been doing. And I'm very thankful and grateful for that. But it wasn't enough. It's like, okay, they read my story, they feel what I've gone through, they've been inspired, they see hope, things like that in their own life. Great. But the next question is, okay, but how do they get through it themselves? So if they're struggling with a traumatic event and they're having a hard time dealing with that, and they're really pounding themselves and getting pounded by life, and they're really like starting to drown and barely keeping afloat in life, how are they going to get through it? And that's where I came up with the Mindfield Masterclass, is to take everything that I've been through and to take how I got through everything and put it into a course so that I'm able to teach others and equip them and train them so that they can learn how to overcome their own traumas and break through so that they can have a great future after their traumatic events. So I don't heal them, I don't do it for them, but rather I'm a guide that guides them, instructs them, teaches them how to do it for themselves, so that if there's any other, traumas from the past that come up, or any other kind of storms in life that they face, that they're equipped and they know how to get through it themselves, and they come out even much stronger than before, and how they're able to walk out the destiny that they were fulfilled to live.
Genuinely, Miguel, kudos to you. It is not easy to do this all together after these many traumatic events which you have gone through. So let's ask something interesting question which I have found from your details as well, that you have a diverse career. You became a model and actor. How's what it is about something?
Okay, so I joke about it a lot lately, because when I was younger, much younger, I was actually a model. So I would go around and do fashion shows for, and the catwalk and all that stuff, for the new fashions that would come in for the new seasons. And not once was I ever on any magazine when I was actually getting paid to be a model. Yet it's when my book came out, now that I'm in, my 50s, that I actually was put on and made the cover of a major international fashion magazine,
Okay,
which is
that's great.
F.A.T.E magazine. So that was, I think it was the cover in September of last year of 2024, where they put me on the front cover and did a beautiful spread about me inside, and regarding my life and my book and my autobiography and all the awards that I'm winning.
As I am a new audience to you, so what I am seeking through your book, something you can tell about us, that why should we read this book, why should we learn about your experiences?
Because every single person goes through some kind of trauma in their life. Everybody goes through some kind of storm in their life. And the way that each person goes through it and the way that each person, um, makes it through and overcomes that storm or that trauma varies widely because each person is different. So the way that I may adapt and overcome those certain storms or traumas may be different than what you've gone through and maybe different than how you chose to deal with it. And that's where we learn, because if it's not working for you and you're still struggling, then obviously something needs to change, right? You have to find a new way or a different way, a different path in order to overcome and live a happy, a joyful, a blessed, incredible life, so that you're not bound and you're not beaten down by those traumatic events and those kind of storms in life. And that's what we're supposed to do anyway, right? We
Definitely.
all learn from each other, and we're all human race. So it's all about joining together. It's all about being there for each other, especially as veterans. We're brothers and sisters in arms. And with the VA failing us and the extremely high suicide rate, we need to be there for each other. We need
Definitely.
to, lock arms and hold each other accountable and let each other know that you're not alone, that you don't have to give up, that there are people and ways that you can overcome this and still have an incredible, amazing life, regardless of what you've been through. And that's the thing, is that, your past does not define you. The struggles that you're facing does not define you. It's what you do next. It's what you want your life to be like afterwards. And if you can envision that, then there's a way to get there and there's a way to make it happen. And I'm here to help guide you to do that.
Definitely, definitely. That's great for coming from you, Miguel. So, with this question, I would like to just say something to our audience for to get past their traumas, and something you want to give an advice to more of a younger generation who is going to watch this podcast. So, something coming from you.
So really, it's the same thing. I've noticed it a lot more in recent years, as well as the number of suicides from kids, and the younger generations, because there's so much pressure on them, especially with like social media,
Yes,
and everything's online now for exposure for like whatever kind of mess up, or you do something stupid, or whatever, that people make fun of you. Now they go viral with that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. And the biggest thing that I can teach or encourage them is really, without using the F bomb, just don't give a damn. It's like, it's your life. What's your vision? What's your dream? What's the destiny that you want to have for your life? And if these people are not important and they're not going to be impactful on you, then who gives a crap what the hell they think? Let
definitely.
them be them. You be you. And that's the thing, is don't pretend to be somebody you're not. Be yourself. And if they can't accept you as yourself, then they're not worth crap. You know, then that's their problem. They have the issues. They're the ones that have serious situations because they can't accept somebody for who they are. And that's what I want to encourage you. Be yourself, be confident in who you are, envision what you want to be, and then follow that path. Because I guarantee you, and even for those that are older, I know they're probably not in your audience, but it's never too late to follow your dreams. So even if you think you're a high school dropout, I was a high school dropout. I dropped out senior year of my high school year because the school system screwed me over. And here I go from being a high school dropout to being an international award-winning author and the
Definitely.
nominee for the 2025 Author of the Year. So you're not limited by your circumstances,
that
but you got to
that's
believe in yourself.
Okay, that's a real inspirational words coming from you, Miguel. So with this question, we would like to end this podcast, and thank you so much for coming, Miguel, for this show. We would love to have you on the show again after a time, whenever you are ready to write another book of yours, and just if you are looking to come and have a fun chat with us, we will be looking forward anytime soon. Okay,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I'd be totally honored, and it's always a pleasure talking with you, Anush.
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All
Thank
right,
you so much.
namaste.
Okay. Namaste. Namaste, sir.